Hey everyone, it's technology expert Burton Kelso here with another tech tip to help you with the technology in your life. Today we're talking about websites and how to prevent criminals from hacking websites. Websites are great as compared to how they were 10 to 15 years ago. If you had a small business or even had a hobby, it was almost very difficult to get your own website. There were web building tools that you could use, like some Adobe products. I personally built several in Microsoft Publisher, but most of those sites were safe because criminals didn't target them. But now, cyber criminals have realized that if they commandeer or take over a website, they can make a ton of money. And it doesn't help that you have websites that allow users to create them using site builder tools. Popular site building tools websites include Wix, Squarespace, and a few others. I can't even think of them off the top of my head because there's so many. I think there's Duda or Dota. There's Wix. I've already said Wix. But anyway, you get the picture. Oh, and I can't forget WordPress. WordPress is one of those sites that you can just do it yourself. Along with, and I keep wanting to, Shopify is the one that keeps escaping me. But as you can see, there's a ton out there. But the challenge with sites like Shopify and Wix and Squarespace and even GoDaddy is that they're all web-based, if that makes sense. And they allow a easy to use interface that allows almost anyone to get online and make their own website. And while that's attractive, because the good thing about a website, or the important thing about a website, is the fact that you want your website to look current. And these site builder tools definitely allow that you to look like you've had it done professionally via HTML. But regardless, even if you're using an HTML website, WordPress or one of the site builder tools, in today's society, criminals are attacking websites. But if you have built your own website with a site builder tool, definitely makes you more at risk for cybercrime because anyone can log onto your website. So let's take a look at some of the tips and some of the concerns that you need to worry about when it comes to some of these site builder tools. And again, one of the things that you have to worry about when designing a website is that it'll work on just about any interface. A MacBook like pictured here, or even a smartphone or tablet. If you don't know HTML, it's impossible to make that happen. So that's why these tools are so popular. So what should you do in order to keep your website safe from criminals? Let's look at some tips and find out what you need to do to stay safe. So number one is to make a backup copy of your website. Now, depending on what type of web tool you use, may not be possible. But if you have a professional design your website, why not have a backup copy? Because some of the challenges is that if you have a professional company design your website and host it, criminals can sometimes get into those hosting companies. Now, larger hosting companies like, say, a GoDaddy may not have their website infiltrated, but what if someone designed a website for you and they hosted it on GoDaddy? Where's the backup? Should make sure that you've got a backup of your website just in case something happens to it. And we see it all the time at Integral. We've got customers that have had their websites hacked because websites change names and the security isn't there. So other than backing up, we'll take a step back. When you have a website for yourself or for your small business, you need to find out who's hosting that website. There are smaller hosting companies out there that just don't take care anymore. And so it makes it easier for criminals to get to those websites because they're not being maintained the way that they're supposed to. Whenever you have a website design, you probably need to make sure that the website is hosted by you or your company rather than the company designing your website. Because we just went through an incident where an IT company was hosting a website for one of our customers, and the IT guy decided he didn't want to deal with it anymore. So when they lost access to their email, what much we could do other than to contact the IT company that was controlling the website, and we finally got access, but the IT guy didn't reach out to our customer to say, hey, I'm done. Come do something with this thing. So not only should you have a backup of your website, but know who's hosting your website so that you can understand if you have problems, that you know which company to go back to, because a lot of people don't. Also includes email, so have that information on hand. Now, we'll say if you have your website hosted with the site builder with GoDaddy or Shopify, I finally got that out, right? Or Wix or any other the cookie cutter website design companies, you really can't back that up. You just have to kind of have your faith in the Lord and make sure that the hosting company does have backup of your websites. You should get in contact with them to find out what they will do in the instance that your website is hacked, because sometimes it's up to you as far as what happens if your site is commandeered by hackers. But you need to know that information so that you can better protect yourself. So the next step is those darn plugins. And I'm not talking about plugins like your Amazon plugin that will work with your Echo devices to make them quote unquote smart. That means plugins that are basically software programs that interact with your website and allow you to download certain tools. One of the two popular ones that I know, especially with site builder tools, are with Wix, GoDaddy, and WordPress. These are notorious for having plugins that allow you to do specific things. Now, we'll say with most instances that a plugin is going to come from the manufacturer of the website. So, for example, let's say you have a Wix website and you want to add in a form feature on your website. There's a specific plugin that you can download directly from Wix that will allow you to make that happen. Now, if you're designing a WordPress site, you really have to be careful with plugins, because anybody and everybody is designing plugins to interact with your website in order to add specific tools. And just to kind of give you an example of the plugins that are available out there, there's plugins for forms, there's plugins for collecting customer data on your website. There could be plugins for allowing your website to have a higher Google ranking with SEO. The list is endless. But before you just install any other or any old plugin in your website, make sure that you verify the publisher of the plugin. Read the reviews, because you're downloading it from an app store of sorts, to find out that if the plugin is going to wreak havoc with your website, make it more accessible to cyber criminals, and make sure that it isn't going to be hacker allowable, if that's such a term. Moving on. Secure websites. Make sure that your website is secure, because sometimes if you have an unsecure website, one with just the HTTP, criminals can get access to it easy. If you use HTTPS on your website, it doesn't necessarily keep people from logging into your site builder site. I want that to be understood. It means that if criminals are just browsing through the web and say, oh, let's check out this website and see if we can infiltrate it. If it's secure, it's going to keep the bad guys out. If it's not a secure website, then it's going to be not only a site where criminals can get easy access to it, but also if you're doing secure transactions, criminals can just sit back and wait. Monitor all those transactions you have, such as shopping or any other financial transactions on your website. You need to watch out for that to make sure that criminals aren't seeing your information. Next on the list is be careful of what type of files that people are uploading to your website. Oh my goodness. Sometimes people will use websites to make it a little easier for their customers to share stuff, to allow them to upload data to your website. But in this day and age, you probably need to use a separate entity, such as a secure online cloud service, to store files rather than allowing people to deposit files directly on your website. That means customers can put files on your websites that can do good. And it also means that customers can upload files to your website that can bring it down, not to mention criminals. So you probably need to turn off that feature if you're allowing people to upload files to the site, your site, because you don't know what kind of garbage they're uploading. So turn that feature off and be aware of that. Next is probably one of the most important things that people don't do when it comes to websites, because they're based on price only. Because believe it or not, even if you were to do a site builder tool for your website, designing a website takes a lot of time to do. But even when it comes to web designers, hosting companies, and software and plugins, you need to look at reputation to verify that you're looking at a reputable host of your website and that they're going to do things that are going to keep that website safe and secure from criminals and other hackers out there. I hate to say it because I love small businesses, I really do. So if you're a small business owner and you do website design and hosting, make sure that you are developing yourself as a good reputation, because it makes tech guys like me to say, hey, you need to only go with the big guys, because under most circumstances, your website is going to be safe and secure. But if you're just the everyday person, do a little research on those hosting tools like Squarespace, GoDaddy, Wix, Shopify, to verify that it's going to be a good fit and to make sure that no one has been hacked from those websites. They have, because of what I'm about to share next, which is people normally have their sites hacked because they're using weak passwords. Think about it. These tools are online, which means that anybody can log on to the main page for a website and get access to your information. Another thing that criminals are notorious for doing is finding your credentials on the dark web. And for a lot of those cookie cutter site builder tools, you can log in using your Google account or even your social media accounts. Now, what happens if a criminal happens to come across your Instagram or Facebook login? Heck, they can just start logging into all of your websites because you're using the automatic login feature that's connected to your social media accounts. And I know, for example, Wix allows you to do that. Nice and simple, right? Not if you want to keep your site safe and secure. So, what should you do? Well, you got to come up with your own username and password for these sites in order to keep it safe and secure. And in fact, I always recommend that if you're going to use a password, that you need to stop the practice of using passwords and adopt the practice of using passphrases. Now, passphrases are passwords that are created using two unrelated words, and I'm going to give you an example once I pull up this website. But a passphrase can be anything that you create, as opposed, let's think of a good passphrase. I always struggle with this. So let's say that you're going to use the passphrase of black scissors or black and orange scissors. No such thing out there. If you think about orange handled scissors, maybe. But if you're looking at, and let me see if I can get back to you wonderful folks. There we go. Something that's safe and secure. Passphrase, or the website use a passphrase, is going to be a great resource for you. As you can see, here's a passphrase: Crowbar, Cortex, Vista, Humming. Now, you don't have to use all four, although you can see, using all four words, approximate crack time of, I think that's 36 million centuries. So who's going to think of this word phrase? They're not. So using a passphrase like even Crowbar, Humming is a good example of a passphrase that you can use. Good thing about the use passphrase website, you can use all four that they generate. You can generate a new passphrase, and you can even use passphrases from the words that use a passphrase pulled up. So if you're looking to create secure passwords or passphrases for your online sites, definitely check out Use a Passphrase and find out that, or I should say, make sure that you are keeping your web-based online login safe and secure from criminals out there. And then the last tip is kind of a complex one. It's not one that everyone can do. So make sure when it comes to your website that your web provider or your host company is using secure tools to make sure that your website is safe from cyber criminals. There's a lot of tools, utilities that are built into websites to keep the hackers out. For if you use a site builder, then it definitely is just a matter of using a secure password for your site builder site. But as far as providers are concerned, make sure, even if they're talking over your head as far as what they're going to do to keep your site safe and what protocols are going to employ, make sure that that's being implemented when it comes to your website. Again, it doesn't matter if you're using a site builder tool, you're having someone design it, or it's your hosting company. It's your website, and you want to make sure that it is safe and secure. Because again, criminals love insecure or unsecure. I shouldn't say insecure. They're kind of insecure. They're like, man, I really don't know what I'm selling. But they're not. Unsecure websites are victim or can be victims to cyber criminals because they can steal information that you have stored on your website. They can turn your website into a hacking tool. So criminals can employ the method of drive-by hacking if they install malware or viruses on your site. So you should always be careful and make sure that criminals don't have access to the utilities that are going to have your site compromised, have your site set up where criminals perform ransomware attacks so that you can have to get or pay them in order to get access to your website. And make sure they're not doing drive-by hacking with your website tool, because you don't want to be that guy and ruin your company or gal, ruin your company reputation by having a website that is showing bad images or just spreading out bad stuff. So there you have it. So if you have comments or questions about how to keep your website safe, again, doesn't matter if it's personal or business, leave a comment in the comment section below. Love to hear from you to help you out. Keep that website safe. And speaking of which, if you liked this video, be sure to liked, then I'm going to say like. But basically, if you enjoyed this video, I think that would be the proper term. Be sure to like the button, no matter where you're watching it, or share it with your friends, and comment so I can know what you want to hear. So at the end, outro, I almost said the intro, the outro of this video, my goal is to make technology, through technology, to help you experience ideas and resources to help you get more from your devices. So I love technology. I've read all the manuals, and I'm serious about making technology fun, safe, and easy to use for everyone out there. So take care of yourself and do many things to make you smile. And thanks for watching.